to episode 17, chapter 4 of the Daily Growth Discipleship Podcast. I'm Josh Havens.
And I'm Chris Lamberth. And we're on a journey to learn what it means to live a lifestyle of discipleship. We're glad you're joining us and hope that as you set aside this time for God, that He will help you grow today in the everyday moments of life.
And today we're finishing up our conversation with Russell Verhey. Russell Verhey is on a mission to build leaders who have committed their lives for redemptive purposes. As a coach and author, his passion is to move leaders from inspiration to impact in their areas of influence. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Entrepreneurship from Kennesaw State University and a master's degree in leadership development from Denver Seminary. He's run his own businesses, been part of R12 and Vistage Business Roundtables, and invested in the lives of CEOs through his work as a coach and chair of Convene in Colorado Springs. He now runs The Advance, an organization he founded a few years ago to meet the expanding leadership development needs and team challenges of his leadership clients. The most important thing to him is his faith and family. He says, God is the source of every good thing in his life. He and his wife Carrie have been married for 23 years, and they have 4 children.
This week, Russell has explained to us why relationships are so important, what it means to be a conversationalist, and the 5 levels of the conversation. And so I hope that as you've listened this week, you've seen the need in your own life to become a better conversationalist. Well, Josh and I recognized it, and so we couldn't wait to ask him how. How do we get better at having conversations with others? And so if you've enjoyed the other 3 parts of our conversation so far, then you're going to love this chapter as Russell dives even deeper and brings out some of the most practical tips yet for becoming a better conversationalist.
So how do we get better at developing those conversationalist skills? How do we become better conversationalists?
Yeah, let me answer it, and I'm going to go back to the first question. What was the catalyst for the conversationalist? And that story is really significant for me, and this ties into the leadership work that I've done the last 7 years. If you could picture yourself in almost a retreat center setting, we're in this picturesque, beautiful outdoor venue, and literally it's just gorgeous outside, and we're overlooking this sanctuary, it feels like, and we're in a room, a window-filled room with 12 CEO leaders. And we're having our discussions. We're in an 8-hour format with these guys that now I've spent years with these leaders and these men. And I had a moment one morning, and it was really captured in a verse that has a lot of history for me, and it actually has a lot of history for others as well. And it comes out of Hebrews 10:24, and it says this: let us consider how to spur one another on to love and good deeds. And there's a lot there within that one statement, but the word that captured me in that moment is consider. Let us consider, where imagine a group of CEOs or high profile leaders, or you could put it in pastors or friends. The fact is how you motivate them, how you engage them, how you ask them questions, how you enter into friendship. The fact is it's different for everyone. You don't give just one talk, and it engages them all at one level. For me to engage each of these 12 at that table was to actually take time to consider, what do they care about? What motivates them? What's their story? What are the things that are pressing on them today? And when I take just a few minutes, I mean just a few minutes, to consider where they're at, next thing you know, questions start forming in my mind of what are some of the things that will help me engage where they're at. So that really is the catalyst, the inception of where the conversationalist came from. But it also, in a way, captures where your listeners can start today. Who are the people that you're having a meeting with in the next hour, or lunch with, or you're going to see this weekend? And it's like, wow, how could I be more intentional to consider the things that they're facing today and step in a little bit more intentionally with asking a meaningful question where it's like, wow, you really thought about this, didn't you? Yeah, I actually thought about you before I came, and I was really interested in how you're doing and what's going on. And that level of intentionality sounds so simple, but it's just something that where it's people respond to that because it's like, wow, you really do value me, and I want to respond and honor that.
And it helps capture the mindset of what you're talking about. I mean, this is a new way of thinking, of considering. Yeah, I did not expect you to pull that word out of that verse, and so I thought you were going to say spur. But yeah, no, that's challenging. So I appreciate that. I want to be sensitive to your time, and I want to say thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us, guys. We still have pages of notes that we want to keep talking about here. It's ridiculous how little of the questions we were able to get to just because this conversation has been so good. And I do want to ask you though, with talking about spurring, what sort of steps or concrete actions would you like for our audience to take right now if they're leaning into this conversation and they're saying, yes, this is what I want. I want to go deeper. I want to maybe even be a better leader in my organization or in my area, in my ministry. What can they do to begin to develop these traits that we've talked about?
And the most simple answer to your question, it's evaluating who's already on your calendar. You have meetings that are set up, and you have the opportunity to be just more intentional with those people that you're already in the flow meeting with. What can you do to engage them at another level with one meaningful question? What can you do to perhaps prepare the time, as I write in the book, setting the table, so to speak, being able to come and prepare so that the environment is even more ready for a meaningful conversation. I mean, I have fun with the concept of we settle for fast food conversations, but we long for Thanksgiving table relationships. And, even identifying for you, like I do desire for a feast, and that feast in relationships is something that I'm meant for. And I'm really tired with living off of fast food, relationships and conversations. And so
sports and weather.
yeah. And in that way, and I am a big fan of the dollar menu. So don't get me wrong on that. It's not sustainable every day.
Yeah.
So in that way, just to be practical in terms of the first, your next meeting, if I was to break down the book in a simple pattern of identifying where you're at in terms of your relationships, the book is written in 3 parts. It's heart, head, and hands. And that heart is, do you have the capacity to connect? And so your heart preparation is the first priority before you enter into the relationship. Do you have the heart? Do you even care about the people in your life? And developing the capacity to care for people is the hard work and the heart work of how do I really care about people? The mindset around, thinking about what are the questions I want to ask is really the next step, is stepping into, what are the questions that I even want to ask, and thinking about that process. And then finally is the disciplines, putting your hands to it. And that disciplines, you can have all the heart in the world and all of the great questions in the world, but if you're locked in a relational closet, you're not going to enjoy the benefits. So the disciplines of schedule your next meeting with some level of intentionality to take it one question deeper with that person.
Absolutely. And so we really do highly suggest you guys go out and pick up a copy of The Conversationalist, because he goes into so much more detail about all of these issues. And just to give you a little bit of an Easter egg, you were talking about the analogy of setting the table, and it's true. You talked about showing up at your grandmother's house for, I think, Sunday dinner and the food that she had. And like literally I was reading that and my mouth started salivating. And then you even mentioned that as you wrote it, you were hungry. So, but it's a really great book. You're very in tune with, I think, the heart of that we all have to go deeper in conversation with relationships with others. So thank you so much for your work. Is there any, where can people go to find out more about you and what you're doing? Because we didn't even get into the whole leadership aspect of things, but that's a big part of what you're doing.
You bet. And all of that is held under theadvance.net. If you're on a treadmill or driving, you can just remember buildingstrongleaders.com. buildingstrongleaders.com. That'll take you right to the Advance, and you can click on the Conversationalist. You can order the book there, but there's also a course. I've taken the time to build this out in terms of every one of these segments is built in a course, and you can order and get that course and go through as deep as you want. And there's exercises, there's ways to engage. You can walk through that with a friend or a small group. A number of people have gotten books just to go through this with their small groups, because this process is really meant to be engaged with another person. So another fun little fact, if you order online, you're going to get a free little download ebook of 50 questions of a conversationalist. I've heard now that thousands of people have used this for dinner meetings, for their next meeting. I literally have executives that take that sheet into their next meeting. They pick one question off of that 50 question list, and they take that into their next meetings. And so that's free if they just go to the website, buildingstrongleaders.com, to the Conversationalist, and pick up one of those. So
that's great. And that those 50 questions are worth the price of admission. So please go check it out. Russell, once again, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your heart and your desire to see us all grow and develop stronger relationships. So thank you so much.
I want to challenge you to do exactly what Russell talked about in this closing chapter. Plan a conversation ahead of time. Now, this may seem really awkward at first, but it can be a valuable way of getting past some of the fears you may have in the middle of a conversation. Planning out a conversation like this gives you an opportunity to ask questions that demonstrate you value the other person. So after you've got this conversation planned, schedule it ahead of time and put it on your calendar. Get excited with the other person about what God is doing in the middle of the conversation ahead of time. Planning conversations like this ahead of time is one more step in becoming someone who builds a life-defining relationship, one conversation at a time. And if you want to learn more about how to do this, I would highly recommend you get a copy of Russell's book, The Conversationalist. It's a great book to go through with a friend as both of you work to become better at these meaningful conversations. We believe in this so much, we're giving away a set of 2 copies of Russell's book, one for you and one for a friend. You can click on the link in the show notes or head over to dailygrowthdiscipleship.com/pages/giveaway to find out how you can win. Thanks for listening to the Daily Growth Discipleship Podcast. To find out more about Russell and his work, check out theadvance.net or go to buildingstrongleaders.com. There you can pick up a copy of his book, The Conversationalist, and even sign up for a course on building these life-defining relationships. If you want to stay up to date on everything that's happening with Daily Growth Discipleship, you can go to dailygrowthdiscipleship.com and subscribe for free, or sign up on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify.